This is the plaintiff, Marilyn Rothrock. She says she purchased a car from the defendant, who used to be her good friend, and a short time later she was surrounded by cops with their guns drawn because she told them the car was stolen. The police arrested her. They impounded the car. $4,872 worth of her belongings were stolen out of it. And she's here seeking justice in exactly that amount. This is the defendant, Robert Milne. He says he lent the plaintiff a car. Then she just stopped communicating with him. So he reported the car stolen. And 10 months later, he was told the car was found. He picked it up at the tow yard. It was in pretty bad shape. And he was just going to forget about everything because they were once friends. Then he gets sued for almost $5,000. Some people. He's accused of filing a false report.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. Imagine the plaintiff is surrounded by cops with guns drawn after the defendant says the plaintiff stole his car, and she says she bought it. The defendant says he loaned the plaintiff the car, and she just disappeared. It's the case of son of a gun.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Ms. Rothrock, how do you and Mr. Milne know each other?
Well, we were friends for about 14 years.
Now, you had been renting cars because your car was totaled, correct?
Yes.
And at some point he offered to you, why don't you just drive or buy this car?
Yes.
What was the purchase price?
It was $2,500.
Did you pay that?
Well, the car needed repairs, so we decided that I would do the repairs, and then we would subtract the amount from the $2,500. And at the
That's
time,
an odd way to buy a car.
well, it was.
And in the meantime, you get to drive it?
Yes.
What were you paying while you were using the car?
I wasn't paying anything.
So you had a free car to use?
Well, no, because I had actually put about $1,900 in repairs, and then we just didn't. I decided that I was going to pay him when we transferred the title.
And what was the delay in transferring the title?
He was doing repairs at his house, so he wasn't able to find the title. Then he said he had to go to the state, and time just went by.
When we say time just went by, we're not talking about 10 days. We're talking about 10 months, right?
I wasn't
that
able to
apparently
drive
nobody can
it.
figure out how to solve the problem?
I wasn't able to drive it for all that time because the car actually sat for about 2 months. It wound up needing an alternator and wheel bearings, and so I had gotten a different car.
And then what happened at the end of those 2 months?
Well, I finished the repairs on the car, and then I had contacted Bob that we were supposed to meet, and he didn't show up.
You were supposed to meet and do what?
Transfer the title, and I would pay him then the balance.
And did he agree with you that that would be fine?
Yes.
Okay, let me hear your side of what's going on with this car.
As she stated, I did lend her the car on November 2015, but it should have been only for a few months, like the holidays, because I thought she was buying another car. And then her number just disappeared, and...
What does that mean?
Well, I had a number for her, I memorized, and that number just got deleted. I had no way to contact her.
When you say deleted from your brain or deleted from your phone?
From my phone.
Okay.
And...
What year car is this?
in 08.
How well did you know her that you just gave her your car?
Like she stated, I've known her 14 years.
So how do you have, like, her? How does her number disappear? Because if I know somebody so well that I give them a car, I know how to get the car back. I know how to get a hold of them.
I've known her all this time. I've been renting cars for her, you know. And
were you guys in a romantic relationship?
No, not at all.
No, but
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
No,
We went on vacation and things together.
So I got tired of renting cars driving to Orlando, so I lent her my car for the short
Why were you renting? What you got tired of? What, renting cars for her?
That's what I was doing. I got the receipts right there.
You would rent the car
and then let her
and then would
use
she
it.
pay you?
Yes.
Why would you do that?
I was doing it as a favor.
Does it make sense that the defendant, knowing this plaintiff for 14 years, had no idea how to get in touch with the plaintiff?
Makes no sense at all.
So you think the defendant is scamming?
I think there's a scam going on.
What do you say, sir?
There's got to be a way, no matter what. Even if you don't have their number, you know somebody who knows them. After 14 years, there's got to be.
Well said. And who hasn't talked yet? Ma'am?
There's always a connection, way to find their information.
6 degrees, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, totally.
Got your point. Going inside the courtroom.
How did this work out, this favor where you loaned her a
It
car
didn't,
and
as
you
you can
lost it? You had to
see.
call the police. You had to end up reporting
Exactly.
it stolen. Right.
I got it all here where I reported.
You think you know her that well? I don't think you know her that well.
I guess I didn't.
So when did you first decide to report the car stolen?
I waited January, February. I think I called the Melbourne Police Department. They wouldn't report it stolen because I handed her the keys, okay? After that, I waited and waited. No contact, nothing. So then about 4 months later, I called them again and say, look, I need to report this car stolen.
Yeah.
So the Melbourne Police Department came out to the house, and I made the same statement I made on the...
And magically they figured out what to charge?
They
Right, they
reported
figured out
it
how to do it.
stolen, and it
Right.
wasn't 45 days later before they found my car.
So how do you first find out the law enforcement's involved in taking the car back, ma'am?
I was driving, I had just picked up my son and pulled into a McDonald's and saw police cars behind me, and they had their guns drawn. I mean, it was pretty horrific.
Yeah.
You know, it was very
Yeah,
serious.
I know. That's why you probably shouldn't take somebody's car and never surface.
Well, I did have an agreement of sale. The issue with the odometer, you couldn't read the
I don't
odometer.
care about what your issues are. At the end of the day, you didn't have the sale, and you kept the car, and then you lost touch with the guy who owns the car, and you knew it wasn't registered in your name. Why is this a huge surprise that the day of reckoning would come?
Because of the relationship that Bob and I had.
So you just thought you
Frequently,
could take
we
his
helped-
car and not worry about
Well,
it.
I had loaned him my car, but in the past, it was that type of a relationship.
Wait, I want to get back to guns drawn on you because I like that part. So the police come out of the car and it's guns drawn and what?
And they asked me to get out of the car, and they explained to me that the car had been reported stolen. At that point, they only do their job, and so they arrested me, even though I had
So
the
you got
agreement.
charged with grand theft?
Yes.
And then what happened with that case?
It was dismissed.
Okay. So what are you suing for? You're suing for almost $5,000 here today in unreturned belongings. What say you was in that car?
I have the items itemized. There were passports for both myself and my children. I also had birth certificates and library books. I had an Apple iPad.
What were you doing with passports and birth certificates in your car?
It was in a wallet.
Were you living out of your car?
No.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
had the passport because my one son was going to travel with his girlfriend the next day.
Okay, go on.
And then I had my Apple iPad, my cell phone. There were 2 cameras.
Two cameras.
Yes. The one camera had pictures of when we were in Europe. We had spent 6 weeks
What
in
are 2 cameras
Barcelona.
doing in your car?
I wasn't sure which one my son wanted to take on this trip.
Go on.
And then I also had a ring that was in the folder part of the tote. The tote had the...
You had a ring.
Yes.
What kind of ring?
It was a platinum and sapphire ring that I had purchased.
According to the Maitland Police Department vehicle inventory, they inventory all the items of value, and here's what they say you had. A new tire, a pet carrier with clothes, toiletry bag, miscellaneous clothing, pillows, hair dryer, miscellaneous books, sunglasses, miscellaneous makeup, shoes, miscellaneous vehicle fluids, and books. They don't mention a sapphire ring. They don't mention cameras. They don't mention a second camera. They don't mention an iPad. They don't mention a computer. They mention a bunch of junky stuff that doesn't have value.
Well, at the time when the police had come, 2 different police departments were working together that evening, and after I was taken away is when they did the inventory. Now,
What does that have to do with answering my question?
because they didn't take anything out of the car, they just did a visual. The first officer was the one that had removed items out of the car, checked, looked over the laptop, looked over the phone, and,
Or either that or
check the
maybe
whole
you didn't have
vehicle.
any of those things in there.
I'm
And you're-
sorry?
Either that or maybe you didn't have any of those things in there and you're just trying to collect $4,000-something from them.
No, that's incorrect. Those
All
items
right.
were
Did you
there.
ever find a laptop?
No, ma'am. I have a letter. I parked the car at my house in Orlando that my daughter lives at. I have a
An
letter.
affidavit from your daughter saying none of that stuff was in there. Okay. Ms. Rothrock?
I have the motion that was filed in Orlando.
Yeah, I saw it.
Right after I had...
Yeah, it's after you go to a lawyer and you claim you had a bunch of stuff there. What I want to know is what proof do you have that you had the stuff there? That's what I want to know. And I got to tell you,
The DA's office
I wouldn't
had
believe
the
your tongue
affidavit.
if your tongue came notarized. That's kind of the problem we're having here.
I
So,
also
Ms.
have-
Rothrock, I find that you have woefully failed to prove to me that you had a sapphire ring, iPads, computers, we had 1,000 of them, 2, not 1. All the things that traditionally someone who's perpetrating insurance fraud does when their car gets stolen, all of a sudden the next day they remember that they had every mink stole was back. Yeah, I find that you have not been able to prove that, and I find in favor of the defendant in this case.
Well, Ms. Rothrock, it did not go too well for you, did it?
Well, it didn't, because I would have had the local police had offered to come. They knew that originally those items weren't listed there, but they did have pictures that they had provided to the DA's office of all
Pictures
the
of
items
what?
of all the items that had been in the car. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get copies of those from the DA's office, so because I didn't have them.
What do you think
here
about what he
today.
said he found in the car?
Well, first off,
Had you been living in the car?
No, the car had been detailed the day before, and I do have a receipt for that.
Before what? Day before what?
The day before of this incident. So
Before you got arrested?
correct. They should have
I'm
returned.
dying to know what you think about it. The judge said she
they
wouldn't
didn't
believe your
return any
tongue
of-
if it were notarized. What do you think of that?
Well, she should have at least given me the items that my clothing.
You had no proof? No proof?
I do. It was on the inventory list.
Yeah, but you have to prove it. You have no proof.
And I had
Just a list
receipts.
doesn't work
She
in
didn't
court.
ask me for my receipts on the clothing. I had all my receipts, so she should have at least given me partial. But I did.
Sorry.
It's a
Case
shame.
is over.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Sorry about that. Mr. Milne,
How you doing?
I bet you're glad this is over, huh?
Oh, thank heaven. I guarantee you that. I haven't seen her in 3 years, and I won't see her again, so.
Wow. Did you learn anything from all of this?
Well, as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more not lending my stuff out. My kids get on my back about it, you know. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, but
I feel sorry for you. Okay. Good enough. Congratulations.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you very
Guy.
much. Right that way. Okay. Harvey?
Okay, I want to kind of go off the page here because this came up. If you have valuables, it is a really, really bad idea to leave them in a car, in the trunk of a car, in any place in the car. Because if the car gets stolen or broken into, and you can't prove what was in it, it is really hard to convince a judge all that expensive stuff was there.